So today we'll create a setup inspired by the relatively new Eurorack module from Cen2rion. Here is an example of what it can sound like. As always, I added the ideas from this video to the PDF of tips and tricks I keep on updating. It's available on my Patreon together with the project file from this video and from many other videos. So the main idea behind this module is the ability to mix and scan between 6 different inputs, and we have two sort of mixes out of A and B. Of course, it has a few tricks up its sleeve, but let's start with the basics. So first of all, I would like this setup to process full instruments, not just signals from within the grid. So you can use Bitwig's devices, but also your favorite VSTs and such. And for this, we will use the instrument layer device like I have it here, right? We can load different synths and sounds, even samples, process them, sequence them differently. I have here already 6 instruments ready. Let me just play this for a second. Right, so here I have a wavetable synth, then some percussion, right, a sample, and you can see here for the percussion, for example, I use the note device, so it's also sequenced differently, right, sort of a pad, swarm, and bite. So these are the inputs, and again you can process Bitwig's devices or VSTs, and now we will process them in the effects grid. So I have here in the effects, I have here already the effects grid set up. So first of all, we will remove the audio input. Right now I can unmute everything, and even if I hit play, right, nothing, we will hear nothing because nothing here is connected. But we can use the audio sidechain module to bring each instrument, it's under the input output here, to bring each instrument on its own channel. So we will need 6 of them, of course, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now set the inputs for each of them. So for example, input 1 will be the wavetable post. Then we have the percussion and so on. Right, and now we can listen again to each of them. So we have here again the wavetable or the sample, for example. And now for mixing and scanning between them, we will use the merge module, this one here. In this case, again, we have 6 inputs. So I'm going to change this to 6 channels and then connect the inputs to each of the channels, and this will allow us to crossfade between them. I will send this also to the output. And now we can of course scan through them with different signals. For now, we'll just use a constant signal here with the value. This will go to the scan or the phase input here. Right, and now we can either smoothly crossfade between them if I hit play. Right, or we can switch and jump between values. If I click the merge here, we have here interpolation. If we change this to nearest, right, this will switch between the inputs. But the nice thing about Cen2rion is the ability also to widen the crossfade, right? We have here also width. So select will be the crossfading, and then we have width to select how many channels will go through at the same time. And like this, we can also mix the different voices. And for this, we will use voice stacking. So again, we have 6 voices coming in. So we will set this effects grid to have voice stacking of 6. And now I can spread the voices, in this case, by spreading the value. So in the effects grid here on the modulators, I can add the stack spread. We can leave this on 0 to 1 and just modulate here the value. Right, and you can see now we have more channels here at the same time, and I can again scan, and now all of them will move together. So now we crossfade, but we also mix more or less 3 channels at the same time. And of course, this will work also with modulation. So for example, with something like the curves LFO here, right, I will set it to be synced, let's say, to 4 bars, just so it's not too slow. This will now scan through the signals. Right, and now also here to increase the width, I can spread, in this case, the phase of the curves. Right, so you see now we have more channels at the same time. You can see this also if I go in here. You can see here the six dots here. They can be closer together or separate apart, and you see here exactly what's going on. Now, of course, on the module itself, we have two outputs, in A and B, and we have also two scanners. So we can have different, for each output, we can have different settings. It's also possible to split the inputs between them, but again, even get different mixes from each and process them differently. So in Bitwig, to do this, I will group the effects grid with Control G into an effects layer, and then just duplicate what I have here, right? So this will be output A, this will be output B, and in output B, we can have, for example, a different, let me solo this for a second. Right, we can have a different shape here for crossfading, right? Maybe something like this. And also change the spread, right? Just for this channel. So maybe in this case, they will be a bit closer together, right? Something like this. Right, and now we can process this also differently than output A. So for example, with the filter plus, with the bandpass filter. Let's go with bandpass 2. That's some resonance. Maybe some hit. Right, add some modulation here. Maybe every 3 bars. Right, so already it sounds a bit differently, and then add some, of course, delay, the delay plus. Maybe also blur it a bit with 2 blur devices. Right, so this was this effects grid. This is output A, output B. Right, and then together. Right, so we have different settings. They will crossfade between the different inputs differently with different width, and also processed differently. Right, now let me show you the preset that I have saved, just so we don't have to build this over and over again. I have here already the instrument layer set up. You can see it's called Cen2rion. It has already 6 inputs. So all you have to do is just add your instruments or VSTs to these inputs. And in this case, I already have 2 effects grids set up, output A, output B. So if we go into output A, right, we have already the sidechain modules, and they're already set up to receive the inputs from the layer here, right, from the instrument layer. So you don't have to set anything up. You just add your instruments and they will automatically go here into the sidechain modules. And I have here already a few controls set up, right? So this is output A. Again, we can select. With the select, we can scan through the inputs, right? And if you want, of course, you can modulate this select control with any modulation you want, LFOs, random, and so on and so forth. We can also change the width here if I zoom out a bit, right? So we can change the width. Now we have 2 channels, 3 channels, 4, and so on, right? Of course, also this you can modulate with your favorite modulation source. And there is even a button that allows us to switch between smooth, right? So we can crossfade between the signals, or if I click this once, it's discrete, right? Just like on the module, if I show you the module here, we have this smooth or discrete, right? So it will either crossfade between them or switch between them. And of course, width will also affect it here. So now it will mix 3 and will switch between the other inputs. And it's the same for both outputs, right? So this is output A, and then we have output B, again with the select, width, and blend. And I have here a few more voices just to listen to this in context. But before I unmute them, thank you again so much for watching. I hope this was somewhat helpful. Consider joining us on Patreon. Cheers!